And I wanted to mention this next narration, Ikhwan, as a matter of clarification, as this is a narration that I have quoted repeatedly over the years, and the narration is not authentic, and I want to clarify, Allah yabarik fikum, from the clarification of our Shaykh Muqbil, rahimahullah ta'ala. فهذا شعبة ابن الحجاج لما حدثه شيخه أبو إسحاق بحديث عبد الله بن عطاء عن عقبة بن عامر في فضل الوضوء. He mentions, Ikhwan, that Shu'bah, when his Shaykh Abu Ishaq related to him the narration of Abdullah ibn Atta on the authority of Uqbah regarding the virtue of wudu, he said to his Shaykh, Ikhwan, أَسَمِعَهُ Abdullah ibn Atta min Uqbah ibn Amir. Did he hear it directly from Uqbah ibn Amir? He questioned the chain. فَغَضِبَ Abu Ishaq, his Shaykh became angry according to this wording of the narration. ثم رحل شعبة إلى عبد الله ibn Atta بمكة. And then it mentions that he traveled, according to the narration, he traveled to Mecca, Shu'bah, to ask Abdullah ibn Atta regarding this narration. Again, look at this travel, according to the narration. We'll discuss the veracity of the narration momentarily, بإذن الله تبارك وتعالى. فقال عبد الله بن عطاء حدثني به سعد بن إبراهيم. So Abdullah ibn Atta, according to the narration, he said that it was reported to me by Sa'd ibn Ibrahim. Was Sa'd Madani. Sa'd Madani. In another wording, it mentions that Imam Malik said that Sa'd did not make Hajj that year. And according to the narration, Shu'bah traveled in relation to this one narration, not even for the sake of Hajj at that point. So it mentions here, Ikhwan, he said that he did not make Hajj this year. He is in Al-Medina. فَرَحَلَ شُعْبَ إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ. So Shu'bah, according to the narration, traveled to Al-Medina. فَقَالَ حَدَّثَنِي بِهِ, meaning Sa'd ibn Ibrahim narrated the narration to me. And he said, حَدَّثَني بِهِ Ziyad ibn Mikhraq. And he mentioned that it was reported to me by Ziyad ibn Mikhraq, who was Basri. So now, according to the narration, Shu'bah went from Basra to Mecca to Medina. Now he's got to go back to Basra. One narration. So I mentioned, Ikhwan, ثم قال زياد حدثني به شهر بن حوشب عن أبي ريحانة. And then he mentions, Ikhwan, that it is reported to me by Shahr ibn Hawshab on the authority of Abi Rayhana, عن عقبة ibn Amir, on the authority of Uqbah ibn Amir. فقال شعبة أفسده علي شهر. Shahr has ruined the narration. Shahr has ruined the narration. And Nisa'i said regarding him, Ikhwan, laysa bil qawi, that he is weak. Allah yabarik fikum. And therefore, Ikhwan, according to the narration, Shu'bah said he has ruined it. وَلَوْ صَحَّ لَكَانَ حَبْ إِلَيَّ مِنْ أَهْلِ وَمَالِ وَوَلَدِي. Had the narration been authentic, it would have been more beloved to me than my family and my wealth and my children. However, Ikhwan, as we said, we have related this narration repeatedly over the years. Shaykhuna Shaykh Muqbil said, وَقَدْ جَاءَتِ الْقِصَّةِ عِنْدَ الْخَطِيبِ وَغَيْرِهِ بِأَطْوَلْ مِنْ هَذَا, with a longer wording. وَلَكِنَّهَا مِنْ طَرِيقِ نَصْرِ بن حماد وَهُوَ كَذَّابٌ. However, it came by way of Nasr ibn Hamad, and he is a liar. And this is what Yahya ibn Ma'in also stated regarding this narrator, Nasr ibn Hamad, that he is a kadhab. And some of the ulama say matruq al-hadith, his narrations were abandoned. Shaykhuna says after this, rahimahullah, وَقَدْ حَدَّثْنَا بِتِلْقَ الْقِصَّةِ مِرَارًا. We have reported this narration repeatedly, many times. And from the Shaykh is where I first heard the narration, actually reading it in Asbab al-Nuzul, or a portion of it. وَفِيهَا أَنَّ شُعْبَ قَالَ أَفْسَدَ عَلِيَّ شَهْرٌ. The Shahr has ruined it. وَلَوْ صَحَّ لِي لَكَانَ حَبْ إِلَيَّ مِنْ أَهْلِ وَمَالِ وَوَلَدِ وَالنَّاسِ أَجْمَعِينَ. And this particular wording, he mentions an additional wording. And had it been authentic, it would have been more beloved to me than my family and my wealth and my children and all of mankind. So look what the Shaykh said after this, Ikhwan. فَنَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهِ. We seek Allah's forgiveness. Look at this Imam. This great Imam, Ikhwan, clarifying, Ikhwan, the truth. If the truth is against you, Ikhwan, you clarify. Allah yabarik fikum. The Shaykh says, فَإِنَّ الْقِصَّةَ لَا تَثْبُتْ. because the story is not authentically reported. And the Shaykh, he mentions this, ikhwan, in Gharat al-Fisal, ala al-mu'tadeen, ala kutub al-ilal. Now, there are other narrations, ikhwan, over the years, Allah yabarik feekum, that we have mentioned repeatedly, and I wanted to take a moment to sort of clarify some of them. The well-known narration of Fudayl ibn Iyad, that he was a highway robber. You remember the narration, ikhwan? And it mentions, ikhwan, that he was so feared because of his might in the road, that the people, if they heard that Fudayl was in the path, according to the narration, they would take another path. And it mentions, ikhwan, that one day he was going to see some woman, according to the narration, and he heard the imam in the masjid reciting the Quran, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Has not the time come for those whose hearts find fear in Allah to take the truth or to carry the truth? And according to the narration, he said, Naam Rabbi qad ana. Naam. He said, yes, the time has come, according to the narration. And it says, ikhwan, that he left his residence and he made hijrah to Mecca, and he stayed there and became, as we know, the great Imam Fudayl ibn Iyad. The problem is, ikhwan, the narration is not authentic. And therefore, ikhwan, we do not attribute to the Salaf or to the people in general, we do not attribute to them that which they are free from. So therefore, ikhwan, it is incorrect to carry that particular narration, and we clarify that, ikhwan, in the work, the stories of the repenters. Also, ikhwan, the narration of Imam al-Bukhari regarding him coming to Baghdad. And when the people heard that Imam al-Bukhari was coming to Baghdad, it was said that they wanted to test his knowledge. So 10 scholars came with 10 different narrations, and it says that they mixed up the chains with the different wordings, so as to see if he was able to make light of what was going on in the narrations. According to the narration, when they mixed up the narrations, it's 100 narrations, and he was able, according to the narration, to put every chain back with his proper metin. The problem, ikhwan, is the narration is not authentic. It is reported in the narration on some unknown narrators. There are unknown narrators in that chain of narration, and therefore, ya ikhwan, Allah yabarik feekum, it is not permissible to attribute that narration to Imam al-Bukhari. And there's no question that he had, of course, the tremendous memory from the huffaz of this religion. And they asked Imam al-Bukhari, ikhwan, how he was able to memorize in such a fashion. And it mentions in his biography that he said a single word, at-takrar, repetition. And we'll talk more about that, inshallah ta'ala, ikhwan, in the coming lesson, bi'idhnillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. Naam. Now these narrations, ikhwan, I mentioned them as Shaykh Rabi', hafidhahullah ta'ala, he said that some people have something of tasahul as it relates to narrations on other than the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We know from the narration, man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar. Whoever lies upon me intentionally, his seat has been prepared from in the hellfire. Anas ibn Malik, ikhwan, who was from the Mukthirin, from those who narrate over 1,000 narrations on the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ikhwan, he said that narration prevented him from narrating abundantly. Now, as Shaykh al-Albani and others have mentioned, ikhwan, we do not believe that Anas was going to lie on the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam intentionally. He's from the trustworthy, noble companions. What he intended by that, ikhwan, is khata. The more you narrate, the more you relate, the greater chance you have of making mistakes. So even though he was from the Muqthirun, what prevented him from narrating even more abundantly was that narration of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at the taqwa. Look at the concern of the noble companions. Some of us, ikhwan, we narrate willy-nilly, as they say. The Prophet ﷺ said, the Prophet ﷺ did, without verification, without looking into the narration, without verifying the veracity of the narration, ikhwan. the noble companions, ikhwan, who sat at the feet of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look, ikhwan, at their taqwa, look at their concern, look at their care. How much more us, ikhwan, centuries from that light. So we must, ikhwan, Allah fikum, be mindful of this. At any rate, Shaykh Rabi, he said, ikhwan, that though some people have something of tasahul, or they're more lenient as it relates to narrations on, for example, the Sahaba or the Tabi'een, the Salaf, Shaykh Rabi said, La, we should not attribute to a person that which they did not say, and we should therefore, ikhwan, ascertain the veracity and the authenticity of every narration that we relate, whether we are narrating on the Messenger of Allah, of course, that is more strict, no question, but we should also, ikhwan, no doubt, be mindful and careful of narrating outside of that which a person did not say or do. So that brings us, ikhwan, to